So I figured I would do an offline Formula 1 race in RaceRoom. This was apparently too much to ask of the game. Already I have lost about 20 minutes of my time because I have to constantly load in and out of the track and do a few laps to calibrate the AI, because nowhere in this game, or any racing sim for that matter, does it explain what AI difficulty level you should start at, or what difficulty level produces accurate or reasonable lap times compared to the player. I also had to devote a chunk of time building a custom setup for this car, because in going through the baseline setup and wondering why the car was so nervous and twitchy on corner exit, I discovered the diff power was at 77%. This is apparently acceptable for a default setup. It's really not. In real life, open wheel teams typically run very low diff power, very high diff coast, and then fine-tune things with preload. This is just setting people up for failure. And there's a whole bunch of other weird shit too, like the sway bars being too stiff and the rear shocks having way too high of a rebound, but we won't go into that. Don't drive this car on the default setup. Anyways, let's actually hit the track and see if 117 AI strength is pretty good. And oh, look at that, we're P2 by a couple thousandths of a second. That looks good. Hey, you're wrong. Take a look at the individual sector times, because we have a problem here. Like, we have a major problem. I'm over a second and a half off pace in Sector 1 alone. Not just compared to the leader, but compared to the entire field of cars out for this testing session. Sector 2, we have a similar problem. I'm half a second off pace, so for the first 66% of the lap, I'm 2 seconds back from the field. In Sector 3, I gain all of it back. Now, Zandvoort doesn't have a lot of long straightaways, so this is not a DRS thing. In Sector 3, there's that crazy hairpin/horseshoe corner that Zandvoort is known for. The AI cars can't handle it at all and almost come to a stop. And you can actually see they're having a problem with it because there's this giant black line on the track from them dragging one of the tires. So I can't run this race, because if I turn down the AI to run reasonable speeds at the other sectors of the track, I will just blow the doors off them when I get to Sector 3. If I leave the AI settings where they are, the AI cars are just going to run me over in the other sectors on the track. So I end up just not running the race and wasting an hour fighting the simulator software.